Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to this day in the Men's Health Grand Rounds webinar. And it gives me great pleasure to be introducing you to Iyanla Van Zant. Literally, I've been waiting to have Iyanla on and to talk with her for almost 20 years. She's been a profound spiritual leader, an empowerment legend. She's written 16 books over 3 decades of time. I can't believe you've been doing this that long. 5 New York Times bestsellers, translated into 23 languages. And you've been a guest on Oprah. I've been following you there. You have your own show on the OWN network. And where I first connected with you was, as I said, nearly 20 years ago. I read a book that you wrote that's called The Spirit of a Man.
Yeah.
And I'd like to just start with reading this, which was one of the things that really touched me and that I wrote about in my book. And it was in your experience of A Million Man March. You had a chapter on A Million Man March, and you said at that time, I saw my father out there at that mall, although he has been dead for 11 years. I saw my former husband out there. He, too, has been on the other side for quite some time. My brother was there. My son was there. In fact, all the men in my life I have ever told, do something, just do something, were out there, whether or not they were present. I saw them making an effort, taking a step to do something for themselves. It made me proud. It made me humble. It scared me half to death. So
yeah.
Maybe you could talk a bit about your early connection with wanting to connect and support men and how things have evolved in your experience. I know you've been doing a lot with men, their families, and Iyanla Save My Life, and a lot of things that have had a profound influence on, I think, the dialogue. So we'd really like to hear you share some of what your experience has been over these years, almost 20 now, since I first connected with you.
Wow, I can't believe it's that long. First of all, let me thank you for your patience and your persistence and giving me this opportunity to meet with you, to talk to your audience, to talk to men. I remember like it was yesterday, the day of the Million Man March, because my house was one of the safe houses that men could come to. And I don't think I've ever been in the presence of that much testosterone in my life. Between all the men that were passing through, coming through, some I didn't know and I've never seen again, and others just all the men that I knew who could get to Washington were there. And it was a beautiful thing for me to see so many men doing something and coming together, because at that time, women were gathering. You know, we hunt and we gather all the time, but to see that many men come together of all ages and sizes and races and backgrounds. They came on bus, on foot. I had bikes in my yard and cars in the driveway and vans, and people slept on the floor. I'm telling you, some of those men I've never seen again because they've come with someone. But it was, for me, the birthing of what I call the male heart opening. I really do believe that was when men understood that they could come together, that they could share their pains, their challenges, their issues, and that there was a soft place for them to fall. I think now, when I think about some of the horrific, horrible thoughts that I've had about men, you know, my father, the exes, my children's fathers, I just have to drop to my knees and forgive myself. Not forgive them, but forgive myself. Because now what I understand is that I would be anything in the world other than a man. I'd be a rock in the park or a grape in the bunch. I think men have such a difficult time because of the expectations that are placed on them and the lack of training and guidance that they receive in order to live up to or execute the things that are expected of them. I know I was surrounded by women. A woman taught me to cook, a woman taught me to shop, a woman taught me to clean, a woman taught me how to dress, how to do my eyeliner, my nails. But when I was raising my son, I really became aware of the lack of manhood training that's available.
Yes.
And today, I think in the 21st century, we really see it with the number of men who are incarcerated, the number of men who are walking away from their children and their families, the number of men who are experiencing hypertension, the number of men who are contracting prostate cancer. All of this, I believe, is the result of the lack of manhood training, where men get the opportunity, that rites of passage, if you will, to really grow from being a boy into a man and learning how to do the things that are expected of him. Because unlike us, you have a baby, you figure out how to change it, how to feed it. You know, if you got an old sheet, you can make a diaper. As long as you got breasts, you got a lunch counter. Where do men get that? And the brutality that I have witnessed against men who do not know, who don't have the skills, who haven't learned the verbal brutality, the emotional brutality, and the psychological brutality. And I raise my hand to say that I was one of the offenders until I had my son, until I saw my grandson, until I buried my father and my brother. My father who took his own life, and my brother who died of a drug overdose on the eve of his 50th birthday. I had to really rework my entire consciousness about men in order to be able to give my son and my grandsons what I thought they needed. But more important, to be able to be the kind of woman who could share space with a man, because I wasn't that kind of woman. And most women won't tell you that, but I will tell you. That's why I said when I saw all of those men on the mall, it scared me, because I said, oh my God, if they wake up, if they really get it together, this is going to be a problem, because I had become the man. I had become the man. And when a male was in my presence and in my company, he had very little space to be a man, because my expectations of him were so low. That's brutal, to force a man to try to fit in the space where a woman is out of order. Because I was out of order, like so many women. Out of order in my thinking, out of order in my expression, out of order in my behavior, out of order in my demands and requirements, out of order in my expectations. And I didn't know that for so many years. So I had to forgive myself and learn. And the way I learned, really, you're going to laugh at me, was really studying nature. I learned how to be a woman on the History Channel. On Discovery, And here was a turning point for me. Let me tell you this quick little story. I was watching the Discovery Channel, or the Learning Channel. And they did a piece about birds. And they talked about, in 90% of the bird species, the male bird builds the nest. He gathers all of the twigs and the sticks, and he finds the place, and he builds the nest. Then the little chickadee that he's been attracted to, He goes and he gets her, and he brings her to the nest, or whatever they do. I don't know if they do email or tail flinging. I don't know what they do.
They tweet.
Right. However, he takes her on a date, and they go nesting. And she gets to the nest, and understanding that this is where she's going to lay her eggs and nurse her babies, she tests the nest.
Mm-hmm.
She picks and she tests the branch, and they showed it with all of these different birds, how the ladybird was strutting on the branch and how she poked at it. Now, if she didn't approve of the nest, she flew away, left him on the branch, and he got no nookie. If she did like the nest, then, she'd snuggle up, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I have never requested, required, or anticipated that a male would build my nest.
Mm.
So I built the nest. I made the rules. I found the branch. I did everything, and then invited him in to live under the auspices of my control.
Mm.
Because you always get what you expect.
Mm-hmm.
If you expect a man to disappoint you, he will. If you expect him to do very little, he will. If you expect him to fail or falter or build a poor nest, he will. Not because of him, but because of you. You always get what you expect. So it was then that I started raising my expectations of men in my life, men that I taught, the men that I interacted. And in order to do that, I had to be in a very different place with myself as a woman. And I went back to nature and began to look at, okay, what is this feminine energy and feminine power, and what do I have to do? And really studied that so that I could be just better within myself, to be better with a partner, a better mother, a better grandmother, a better teacher, a better minister. So some of the things that I learned about myself as it impacted men was how vile and destructive my mouth had become. When a male child, like any child, is forming in the womb, his eyes aren't open or his nose isn't formed, but he has the nodules on the side of his head that will become his ears. And when that brain kicks in around, I think it's 16, 14 or 16 weeks, and the heart starts beating, he can hear. So what I discovered is that the first thing any embryo hears, but I'm speaking specifically about the male, is his mother's heartbeat and her voice. No ears, no nose, no face. That's what he hears. And that becomes etched into the fibers of his being. And what I discovered was the power of a woman's voice in a man's heart, in his soul, in his being, in his fiber. And the same way men didn't get manhood training, I didn't get relationship training. So the way I would speak to men, and the things I would say, and even my tone of voice, I came to realize I am speaking into his soul. I've got to be a little more responsible about what I'm planting. And when I started to work with men, when I wrote The Spirit of a Man, and to hear, I talked to about 200 men, and 180 of them said, I can't take them out. My mother's, my wife's, the way she talks to me. If I could say one thing to men, it would be forgive us, for we know not what we do. The other thing that I learned about men is their drive and need to do. They've got to do. They've got to do. That's how they measure You know, we can be still. We don't mind being at home. Man has to do. And when he doesn't feel that what he's doing is valued and respected, then he doesn't feel valued and respected. So I learned as a woman, I'll tell you this real funny story. My husband was a basketball fanatic, or football, basketball, golf, whatever. But I used to love basketball season because that meant on Sundays and Mondays I was free to go where I wanted to go. And that was usually shopping. So I would buy him his beer and his snacks and, just leave him there at the game. And so one Sunday I went out and I said, I'm going out. Okay. You want me to do anything while you're away? I said, yeah, wash the dishes for me. So when I come back, I can just prepare dinner. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, so I go and I stay out and I know the game is over and I go back home and the dishes are in the sink. And I said, now he's on to game number 2. And I said, I thought you were going to wash the dishes for me so I could cook dinner. Why didn't you wash the dishes? He said, oh, I washed the car.
I knew I was supposed to watch something.
Right. I didn't know what it was, So I have learned to be grateful. So I said, oh, thank you, sweetie. Thank you so much. Of course, it was his car he washed because I had mine. So,
yeah.
Just learn to respect what they do. Because the other thing that I've heard a lot from men is no matter what I do, it's not enough, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So forgive us for that. I've also done a lot of work with men who have hypertension. And, certain medications that they take have a very devastating impact on their bodies. And men who are either in treatment for or recovering from prostate cancer. And working with them, I've just learned that down inside the gruffest, meanest, machoest guy, there is such a softness and a sweetness that it's always there. But because of the expectations, a lot of men won't show us that side. So I would like to encourage men to get in touch with that and to be in it more often. So it's not gonna make you a punk or a wuss, and nobody's gonna run over you. But it's good for you. It's good for you to be in touch with that soft place within you sometime, so that you can even be present with yourself in a different way. I've never consciously been a man that I know of. I've talked to enough of them and worked with enough of them and seen enough of them to know that it's time for you men, my brothers, to heal. Heal from the expectations that have been placed upon you. Heal from the responsibilities that you weren't taught how to meet, or that you failed to meet or chose not to meet. To heal from the separateness. I must have 80 girlfriends. And at any given time, I can call any of them, talk about anything, go anywhere. We eat together, we shop together, we raise our babies together. And sometimes I get sad when I think about how many men are isolated.
Yes.
They go home, if they're not in good terms with their brothers or in touch with their high school friends, if they're not having a good time, where do they go? Where do they go?
Exactly.
And so I also want to encourage men to gather more in ways like you do, to gather more and to make that. I don't know how you all connect. See, we women connect around food and shopping. We don't have to have anything else. A store to go in and something to chew.
Right. Yeah.
And we're happy for days, you know. You know, we'll go to the spa. We'll go just to hang out. And I really want to encourage men to do more of that, to come to more communal gatherings like your workshops or wherever it is that they can go, because here's the part. Men are dying. Men are dying for unnecessary reasons. They're dying of broken hearts. Whether they physically leave or not, they're dying. You know, disconnected, withholding. And they are physically dying. They're dying of shame and guilt and sorrow that they don't know how to express. They're dying for disconnection, that fatherless son syndrome, where so many men are disconnected from their dads and just carry that sorrow and cover it up or with bad behaviors, or I don't know what else they do. And I don't want men to die. You know, I've worked for almost 30 years to keep women from dying. Well, I'm just shifting my focus now to men.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything else you want me to speak specifically to.
Well, one thing I know, forgiveness is such an important factor in life, and I think, as you say, so many men are feeling the disconnection that comes from not forgiving themselves, not forgiving the others. And I think you wrote a book about forgiveness that I wanted to just notice. Forgiveness, I think you call it 21 Days to Forgive Everyone for Everything.
Yeah.
Maybe just say a little bit about how we can break through that barrier that keeps us from forgiveness, and how we can allow that in ourselves and each other.
Yeah. 21 days to forgive everyone for everything. And that's a spiritual principle, you know, of creating a new habit and a new way of being. But I wrote forgiveness because 30 years down, thousands and thousands of people that I've worked to, maybe there are 5 who didn't have anybody to forgive. And that's because they would, either they had amnesia or they were just plain crazy. I don't know which one it was. But I have found in my own life that whatever's wrong with you, whatever's broken, whatever is not working, whatever is not flowing with grace and ease, you've got something to forgive. You got corns, you need to forgive somebody. You got a backache, you need to forgive somebody. Your eye hurt, you need to forgive somebody. Because it is the spiritual laxative that not only clears your heart and your mind, but removes the veil from your eyes so that you can see yourself and other people differently. Forgiveness is the gift that you give to yourself. We think that it is for the other person, but it is a gift you give to yourself. One of the things that I learned from one of my favorite books, A Course in Miracles, is that we are all born forgiving and forgetting love. Forgiving love and forgetting or receiving love. And I find it interesting. People will say, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. And what they are doing then is blocking the current and the flow of love into their life. Because if you don't give it, you can't get it. So knowing that we're born forgiving and getting love, we want to keep our channels as clear and open as possible so that love can flow to us and through us. And that's what forgiveness does. Clears the channels, clears the station. You know, you buy your cable package Forgiveness is the premium. Okay? You get
Mm.
all the
Yeah.
sports channels, you get everything. You don't have to wait for anything. And
Mm-hmm.
people have a difficult time doing it because they think their thoughts about the situation are right, or they
Right.
believe that something could have been different, and they judge
Mm-hmm.
people about what they did or didn't do. So what I talk
Mm-hmm.
about in forgiveness is somebody betrayed you, abandoned you, disappointed you, hurt you. You don't have to forgive them. Forgive your thought about it, your belief about it,
Mm-hmm.
and your judgment about it. If we can just
Mm-hmm.
get
Yes.
people to do that, the rest will
Mm-hmm.
fall in line. Yeah. Just
Amen. Ah, yes. 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 I want to just thank you so much, Iyanla. This has been a journey long time coming, and I appreciate you so much.